Team Captain Talk Show with the Team Captain and the Oracle. They're still on duty. That legendary duel on CTI 22.
Welcome back. Boy, on the eve of another holiday. Good to have you along with us tonight. I don't know how many years it has been since I first heard about Dan Burish. It's been a long time. And Bill Hamilton was the first person, I think, to bring this story to light, to my attention at least. And over the years, we have done, I don't know, at least half a dozen programs in depth about Dan, who is a very enigmatic man who will make his first national radio appearance tonight on this program in just a few minutes. Let's say hello to Bill Hamilton and welcome him back. Hi, Bill.
Hi.
How are you?
I'm back, and I'm not coughing.
Yeah, no, you sound like your old self.
Yes.
Of course, you sound like your old self last time, too, just a little under the weather.
Right.
Good to hear your voice. How many years ago was it that you first came on this story? And I don't think it was too much after that you were on this program talking about it.
Well,
it's been a long time.
Yeah, I first saw the document that Dan wrote in 1999, but I first met both Dan and Marcy in 2002.
Mm-hmm.
And it was probably after that meeting that I came on the program.
Seems like it was more than 4 years ago, but maybe not.
Yeah.
Time flies.
Sure
So
does.
here we are at long last, and I know Dan had indicated in the past, if I remember correctly, that he did want to go public, but there were no green lights all the time back then. There were apparently ups and downs. We'll find out more about that in a few minutes. But as far as you are concerned, being an independent and highly respected career UFO research scholar, this story not only has legs, but it has great traction. Correct?
Oh, yes. Mm-hmm.
Nothing has come into your field of view, intellectually or academically or in terms of journalism, to give you any real cause for concern about this story.
No. What I talk about is yellow flags and red flags.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Red flags means stop, don't go any further.
Right.
Yellow flags mean caution, I need to check this out further.
Mm-hmm. You need more data.
I had maybe a couple of yellow flags along the line, but I feel like I have resolved that in time, and it's been a green flag all the way.
Very good. Let's say hello to a young lady who was on the program. Who was this? On the 21st of June already. Marcy McDowell. Hello, Marcy.
Hi, Jeff. How are you tonight?
Fine, thank you. How are you?
Oh, I'm doing well. I'm
Good.
doing well. It was the 21st of June.
Yeah, let's see, 1 week, almost 2 weeks.
Yes.
Amazing.
Yes.
So this is a story, and we've communicated. It does seem like more than 4 years, but
it does seem like more than 4, but it hasn't been that many years, though.
Busy years.
Busy, jam-packed years.
Yeah. I remember we were talking before the book came out and other things. When did the book come out, Eagles Disobey?
Eagles Disobey was being written in 97, and it was actually finally released in 98.
Well, then we
fall.
have been talking for 7 or 8 years.
For quite some time, yes. Through the course of writing Eagles and all of the things that happened afterwards, yes.
Right. And you talked at some length, in fact at considerable length, as did Bill, about Dan in our program on the 21st, and all of you who are subscribers can hear that any time you'd like, and it is fascinating to say the least.
Oh,
now,
you.
when did Dan first talk about wanting to go public with this, Marcy? Do you remember? It's been a long time, I know, but he wanted to, and he couldn't, and then he could, and it seemed to me, that's at least how I recall it, that it was a bumpy road.
It was a very bumpy road. Actually, from almost the beginning of 1990s, Dan was in a way hoping to find a way to go public with this, but he was so deeply involved with Majestic, and so involved with his work up at S4 and with the J-Rod, that it was a complete impossibility at that time. But times have changed, and things have happened, and he is now in a position where he's actually under orders to tell the public what he knows, what he's experienced, what he knows firsthand.
Gee, and I thought he wanted to come on this program of his own free will. Under orders.
Oh, he's been hoping to, but never had the chance until just recently.
I know. I'm being silly, but with all that said, let's welcome Dr. Dan Burish himself and say hello in person for the first time and for the first time ever. Hello, Dan.
The time has come, the walrus said, to talk of many things.
Indeed.
Hello, Jeff.
Oh, wait a minute, Jeff. Let me jump in on this.
Uh-oh.
Of shoes and ships and sealing wax, of cabbages and kings.
And why the sea is boiling hot and whether pigs have wings. I think we've taken enough of his show up now, Marcia.
Well, that's the literary aspect of it anyway. I won't even ask Mr. Hamilton to... Nah, just be quiet, Bill. You're better.
Yeah.
Now... Dan, you literally were told to go ahead and go public. Is that the story? This has been a long issue, and if so, who told you, and how did that come about?
Well, indeed I have. On October the 12th of 2005, I was sat down in Marcia's apartment together with my wife of 16 years, Deborah, and was given a verbal set of orders which had been passed to Marcia in a written form. I have that exact order in front of me if you'd like to hear it.
Sure, I'd like to.
I will quote, to, this is definitely a quote, the Most Honorable Dr. Danny B. Kitselis Burish, Majestic ID number H6196E, from the Most Honorable MJ number 1, for the Consistory of the Majestic 12, Washington, D.C. Within and for the consistory of this majority assembled, by order of the Majestic 12 in formal high session, Thursday, October 12, 2005 A.D., you are hereby instructed, ordered, and enjoined to the best of your abilities and talents to present the truth of the extraterrestrial reality as you have personally known it on dates yet to be established to the population of the world. You will conduct this disclosure with the application of your sacred honor, without regard for personal security, and in an unwavering manner rely upon the truth and the countenance of Almighty God as your personal defense. Know now that you have the personal assurance of the Majestic 12, that none shall prevail against you, that your message shall be for the unity of humanity during the time of the cycle's cross. Such supremacy of word, but subordinate to God, is established by treaty with the future extraterrestrial intelligences. You are hereby held to all ethical and moral boundaries, as in keeping with the standards set forth for senior agents of the Majestic 12. May God be with you, O Son of the Majestic. We will stand unanimous and adjourned to your purpose. Your acceptance of this order is hereby requested forthwith.
That's some pretty highbrow language. One wouldn't be expecting language that eloquent from an organization like that, or speaking of such high, almost spiritual demeanor. It's interesting.
Well, these ladies and gentlemen who have recently been seated in the 12 positions for the Majestic 12 are deep individuals, and I've come to respect the majority of them, no pun intended with the word, but the majority of them as deeply convicted individuals for the future of humanity. Now, this is not to say that many of those 12 individuals at the same time have not done certain things for which I wish they would not be heading for the hills at this moment and leaving me holding the bag. But that said, I do have a deep regard for them. You know, Jeff, in kind of in common parlance, it's a common thing now to give a shout out to your friends. Might I give a small shout out to my 12 friends out there?
Sure, please do.
Okay, I'll name them one at a time here, and I'll even give some initials out.
Now, this is a first, folks. This is a list that you've not seen anywhere else. I'm all ears. Go ahead.
To the Honorable MJ number 1, Daddy-O, JMM, go ahead and deny me, and we'll have some espresso afterward. To the Honorable MJ number 2, RBC, Chainsaw, watch your sodium levels. To the Honorable former MJ number 3, this was last occupied as the seat was vacated. I can't give your nickname over the radio, but your initials are PG, and I'm glad you're no longer seated in your position.
Wow, let me ask you to hold right there.
Yes, sir.
Interesting. Watch your sodium levels. Indeed. Words to live by. Hold on, we'll be right back in this historic program tonight, hearing some things that have never been heard before, and we'll do that in just a minute. Okay, let's get right back to our program tonight. Dan Burrish is our honored guest, along with Bill Hamilton, of course, and Marcy McDowell. Okay, Dan, go ahead and say hello to your friends.
Well, super, and again, the honor is mine. To the Honorable MJ4, Bobby Ray, I hope you get your magic wand back one of these days. To the Honorable MJ number 5, Henry, it's not too late to still get down on your knees and pray. To the Honorable MJ number 6, ZB, drop me a line and let me know whether or not that was really Tom up in the gallery with you, would you please? To the Honorable MJ number 7, the CJCS was a long haul for you. You're retired. Relax. You deserve it, RBM. To the Honorable MJ number 8, another man that can relax. The MOD will go on just fine, KT. Enjoy the rest of your time. To the Most Honorable MJ number 9, Cat CT, please say hi to the Right Honorable Baroness for me. And whatever you do, don't ever go back on, I'm a celebrity, get me out of here again. To the Honorable MJ number 10, last occupied by AG, say hi to Andrea for me, if you please. And finally, to the Honorable MJs number 11 and 12, HEV and EMK, for government scientists, you guys aren't half bad. God bless you and good luck. Thanks, Jeff.
You're welcome. All right, message delivered. Now, what I'd like to do, Dan, and I think our longtime listeners understand much of the story, I'd like to jump right in to your experiences at S4 with the J-Rod, or the EBE, or whatever you want to call him, and
yes, sir.
We'll call him an ET. I think that's the most understandable handle to put on this. If you would, just go right ahead and let's take it right from there and move through. Well, you were up there on assignment, and how was the first meeting arranged, and what was it like?
Well, the first meeting was arranged well prior to my actually going into the S4 facility. I engaged in a few-year training period prior to that.
Specifically for this kind of assignment?
Oh, absolutely. And in fact, this even ranged earlier. Not that I can get into the SUNY issue too much, but it even ranged as early as SUNY, with whom I was assigned. I was assigned the head of my dissertation committee. Marcia, stop me if I have to. But the head of my
we're going to have to be careful on that.
Okay, the head of my dissertation committee, in fact, is an expert on glycoproteins. And the glycoproteins became a central focus in our research with the J-rod.
You might want to explain what a glycoprotein is, Dan.
Okay, if you want me to.
We don't want to get too scientific.
Well, right, that's what I'm concerned about. Well, a glycoprotein is basically a protein hooked to a carbohydrate.
Okay, which is apparently one of the key biological building blocks of what you're going to be involved with.
Well, absolutely, and a specific type of these glycoproteins are called antifreeze glycoproteins. And they're involved in a highly technical process which is called thermal hysteresis. It's a way of preventing bodily tissues from becoming frozen under cold temperatures. This was naturally developed in the skin of the J-rod. And as time went by and as the illnesses proceeded in the J-rods, they were less and less able to generate these antifreeze glycoproteins in their skin to protect them from freezing. So as their illness progressed, the less antifreeze glycoproteins in their skin allowed them to succumb to hypothermia. And that was one of the major problems. We basically encountered three separate problems.
How many of you said there? How many were there at one time?
In the clean sphere at S4, I was privileged to interact with a one J-rod. His personal name, which is only carried between he and his parents, is Kaela. His personal name was not known to or transmitted into his culture because they are essentially numerologists.
Same kind of numbers that we use?
Well, yes and no. It's the same kind of numbers that we use, but they use them in different ways. And they also compact and diffuse various different number systems to communicate with one another.
Okay, telepathically or in an auditory sense? Yes,
they can in the P plus 52Ks. Now we're talking about a future species here. In the P plus 52,000 year species, they had basically gone to telepathy alone, and in that case, they had a specialized organ, if you will, developed on their brain, which would allow them to entrain to one another. Basically, the way a dolphin would acoustically use its melon to speak with other dolphins in the ocean, and so they would thump each other, if you will, with entrainment and communicate that way. And that, in fact, is how they operate in the earlier species, the P plus 45,000s. How they operate to actually abduct a human being. They entrain to your level of composure or relaxation. Your endorphins and enkephalins begin kicking in, you become relaxed, and you willingly submit. But in any case, the one J-rod to which I was directly privileged to interact at the clean sphere was suffering from actually three separate syndromes at the same time.
Okay, let's get into that right after this. Briefly, Dan, as we slide into the break, how did the J-rod come to be there? Crash?
Yes, it was a 1953 crash with two P plus 45,000 J-rods outside of Kingman, Arizona.
Very good. All right, stand by. We'll be right back and follow this along with Dr. Dan Burish. Okay, right back with Dr. Dan Burrish, Bill Hamilton, and Marcy McDowell. All right, you said that the J-Rod was suffering, I guess others as well, from 3 types of problems. What were they?
Yes, sir. One was a primarily immunologically based problem, which was called an IgA, or immunoglobulin A. Now, here comes some words: monoclonal gammopathy of uncertain significance. The second one was a genetic Cockayne-like syndrome, and this Cockayne disease is seen in a few members of our population now. And the third problem was the distal polyneuropathy, and that was the problem which was responsible for what was called the denervation of their myricrine glands.
Was this alien injured in the crash?
Not severely, as far as I'm aware. Was disoriented and had a great deal of a problem breathing our atmosphere. The J-Rod was traveling with 2 members from an earlier timeline, from 7,000 years earlier, and he was basically mixed in with this group in order to gain intelligence over the group. He was a spy, for lack of a better term.
Well, the more things change, the more they stay the same.
Indeed. One of the extraterrestrials, as I understand it, was killed upon impact or very shortly thereafter. The other J-Rod, the P+45,000, was taken to Los Alamos facility, where he ultimately came across a man named Bill Uhouse, or where Bill Uhouse came across him.
I've heard a little bit of this.
I'm sorry?
I've heard a little bit about that.
This J-Rod was able to speak in our atmosphere and to operate for moderate amounts of time in our standard temperature and pressure. During the time, I should actually digress a bit here, during the time between the P+45,000 J-Rods, the one which are known as the abductors or the hive mentality folks, the ones that basically want to justify their own history for themselves, for their own vanity, who look at us as nothing more than experiments. Between that time and between the time of the P+52,000s, we're gradually coming back to more of a balanced sense of the universe, even though they're still basically utilitarianists and numerologists.
Dan, these years, 52,000s and so forth, are those geared to our current time forward, or is it based on another time paradigm? All right.
Yes, that would be considered a linear vector forward, yes.
Got it.
During that time, they gradually moved from audible communications to telepathy only. What happened is, as they evolved, their species continued to evolve. Their subspecies of human did, and there was a further change in the cerebellar area and the cerebral area of their brain, an area called the superior frontal gyrus, bisected, and it kind of rolled back around the back of their brain, from their audiosensory to their visuosensory areas, and that allowed them the higher capacity through quick evolution, higher capacity to speak 99 to 100% telepathically. Now, the J-Rod that I met up at S4 had the ability to mimic physical speech, but it was only mimicry.
Was he good at it?
Well, he hid his laughter well. He would actually laugh. He would bend forward, and I could see his.
He hid his laughter?
Open and close. Well, there's an actual story that goes along with the fact that he and I had a communication and a friendship nearly from the first time that I went down on the Clean Spheres floor below the gallery to the final cessation of our physical relationship in 2003. And that story is that he and I used to privately communicate, and it's very true. From nearly the first time that I entered into the Clean Sphere, which was at the end of 1993, the start of 1994, it depends on whether you take my memory or take the Majestic's records. My memory says end of 93. But from the first time that I entered in there, Now, we have a series of very in-depth protocols for how we were supposed to contact the J-Rod and how we were supposed to step forward and take samples from him. One of those protocols was upon entry past the gantry into the actual clean sphere, and the closing of the door and the pressurizations for our operation inside the clean sphere, that I was supposed to step over to the right, and in the clean sphere glass there would be projected a teleprompter image of a human being holding his right hand up. I was supposed to step in front of that teleprompter image, hold my right hand up, and whereupon the J-Rod was supposed to understand that I was a friendly human being and not there to hurt him. Meanwhile, he and I were already joking back and forth.
Really?
He said, "I know you're not going to hurt me." And I said, "No, I'm here to take a sample." And he said, "What is your name?" And I told him what my name was, and he said, "Then you're the one I remember." And we got on very well.
Did your superiors, I guess I could call them that, did your superiors know this kind of communication was going on at that time? Did you keep it quiet?
They knew, and I kept as much of it quiet as what I could. Is this a male or a female? Did they have? Male.
All right. Was he a prisoner of war or a prisoner otherwise?
Yes. After he was taken over to the S4 facility after crash, there came to be a schism, if you will, between the Sigma unit within Majestic, then still the Majestic 12, and the various intelligences, and that schism occurred between we and the P plus 45,000 J-Rods. We believing that he was a P plus 45,000 J-Rod because that's how he was billed when he was coming here, was then placed under lockdown, and that is actually the origin from whence he began calling himself captive.
Were these ETs viewed as threatening visitors to the planet by other elements of the government, not necessarily MJ-12, but the military?
Yes.
Were they reviewed as a threat?
Oh, yes.
All right.
Absolutely. And the military still regards them as a threat.
Was he on a scout craft or a primary?
Well, no. This was a diplomatic exchange vehicle.
Oh.
They were here for information exchange, and the primary mission that they were here for was actually fulfilled between Mr. Uhouse and the J-Rod over at Los Alamos. That had to do with the back engineering or alien reproduction vehicles.
Very good. All right, stand by if you would, Dan. We'll pause and come right back.
Yes.
Okay, let's get right back to our special guest tonight, Dr. Dan Burish, scientist and a man who worked with an ET at Area 51 at S4. All right, let's go back to the story, Dan. Go right ahead.
Okay. I should indicate that
we left hanging there. Excuse me, I didn't mean to interrupt, but people were saying samples to me in email. What about samples? So we're going to go back to that in just a minute.
Okay. And what I'd like to indicate is the difficulty that we were facing involving the three associated pathologies involving this J-Rod. Not only were we dealing with just an analogous pathophysiology in the J-Rod, this was a truly to us an alien situation. Our normal chromosomal pairs that we have in our body had been reduced by the time of the P plus 52,000 J-Rod Kaela to 19 pairs, and that would be only 18 pairs of autosomal and 1 pair of sex chromosomes. and they were reduced by combinations of the combining of genetic material through what are called Robertsonian translocations. So what we would think would be, for instance, chromosome number 4 in the present human being would actually be a combination of chromosome number 4 and chromosome number 8 in the J-rod. So we basically had to reinvent the wheel in dealing with the J-rod.
Okay.
And the samples that were taken from the J-rod.
Now you were sent in there to collect physical samples from this living being who was being held a prisoner.
Right. I was sent in to remove distal, peripheral nerve samples because the J-rod was undergoing what was called a Wallerian form of degeneration of the nerves. And so what I had is something called a PIN system, or a pressurized induction needle system, which had small compartment vessels, if you will, on them that I could plug in, inject the needle into the periphery, the arm of the J-rod, and fire it looked like a little gun, basically. Fire the gun by pulling the trigger, and that would cause a suction, if you will, of a small amount of material into a vial, a small vessel. That vial could then be removed from the pin system, placed into a port at the near the gantry area for the clean sphere, and it would be sent up one floor into our cell culture area up on level 3. The peculiarity of removing these samples was that whatever I was doing on the J-rod, I was feeling. And now I'm so I'm generally a right-handed person, although I was ambidextrous when I was a little boy. But I had to learn how to use my left hand to remove these samples very gently from the right arm of the J-rod, because it was required that I removed it from his right arm by our protocols, which were set up by our cover committee. And so I would slowly insert the needle into the musculoskeletal portion of the lower arm by the just above the wrist area of the J-rod, and fire that. And as I fired that, my right arm would enter into intense pain. So I was basically required to do it left-handed because I knew that my right arm would be in pain. There are no free lunches when dealing with.
Was this something that the J-rod wanted you to feel?
No. What happened is, as our association increased, as our relationship increased, he would normally, I would have to be speaking with him during the process. And as our familiarity to one another increased, our ability to disconnect from one another decreased. So as he was trying to pull back his emotions away from me, I could still feel that audiosensory area of his thumping me, and because I had habituated, if you will, with the entrainment from him, I very easily fell into the pattern of continuing to feel him, and so there was no escaping it. I tried to even emotionally cut myself off from it when I was in there with him, and it was a near impossibility, especially after several months of doing it on and off.
Wow. All right. Did he have, you mentioned he laughed, he had a sense of humor.
He did.
Did he have a wish to go home? No, I'm not trying to get into any cliched scenarios here, but was he pretty miserable? How did he take all of this? A prisoner is a prisoner.
He was, yes, he was miserable to the extent that he regarded himself a captive, but he also understood why he was here and his importance of being here. That understanding extended all the way back to his own childhood and his mother. His mother, who had been involved in their society and with the use of their time viewing equipment, such as the like a looking glass machine, if you will, was aware that she would be giving her son to the past to try to save our future. She then gave him the private name Kiela, which has 4 very important layers to his name. And he communicated this to me in between wanting to know what my nickname was and all of this business, and wanting to know about my childhood. But he told me that he was named first after Hala, which means portion. She was giving the bread of her life to the world. The second layer was a numerical layer which added to 33, which is a extremely mystic number. Even in Masonry, and I'm not an apologist for Masons, nor am I a Mason, but a lot of the mysticism involving the number 33 actually means 27, and it goes to issues involving the Metatron's cube, the number of spheres in the Metatron's cube, which are capable, if you put a dot in the center of those spheres, of evolving all of the 5 basic Platonic solids which create our material reality.
And 2 plus 7 is 9, which Marco Rodin talks about as being the complete ultimate number.
Well, in fact, they worshipped the number 9. The ambassadorial suite, where he was held as captive and then finally as ambassador, originally supposed to be ambassador, then captive, and then back to ambassador, and then was restricted to actually leave by his own people, but we can get to that another time. On the ambassadorial level, it was actually named 4 or 5. So the numbers would add to 9.
Right.
And this even goes to how he was named originally. He called himself 15 or 16, depending upon how you want to take the J or the JA in his name, when he was being named by the Sigma unit, which was his base in the number of years from hearing Blythe. The origin, in fact, of the name for Project Aquarius. But on the third layer of his name, the Chi and the L, if you add that together numerologically, came to the same number, 27. And then finally, layer 4, and this I think should have meaning to everybody. He was named El-Ah, which means prophet of God, Allah.
What did he look like, Dan?
Well, he was...
How tall?
I'm sorry?
How tall?
If he was fully standing, he would be right between 0.9 to 1.1 meters tall. However, with the denuding of his physical condition from the Cockayne syndrome and the neuropathy slumped over, he was approximately, well, actually, he was about 1.1 to 1.2 meters tall if he could stand up. I want to be accurate with this.
Did he have a
slumping, he was about 3 feet tall.
I see. Did he have a spinal column similar to ours? Physiology
Indeed, he did.
Similar?
Indeed, he did. And there was there was a reduction in the number of vertebrae, but the vertebrae, in fact, were formed while denser. While there was an increased what's called osteoclastability for reabsorption of bone, so while it was less dense than ours. His spinal column was present.
I see. Sound like he could have used a good chiropractic adjustment after that crash.
Yeah.
I'm not being totally facetious. I mean, the guy had some spinal problems, and, structure is structure.
Well, indeed he did, and they had a very negative nickname for him, the security unit, and some of the folks inside of Majestic, they called him Stump.
Well, I'm sure he picked that up, and it probably didn't make his day.
It didn't, but he looked beyond most of that. He really did.
Well, let's hope
he
so.
Understood that he was here.
52,000 years ahead. I would hope he would look beyond our pretty tattered means of addressing people at times.
He did. He wanted to see from me the sweeter aspects of my childhood, and so I showed him my favorite cartoon when I was a boy, which was Cecil the Seasick Sea Serpent.
Wow.
And he began
Kukla,
calling...
Fran, and Ollie?
Yeah, well, I know about Kukla, Fran, and Ollie, but
that was another
was
one.
Cecil and Beanie. Cecil and Beanie.
Wow. Now, just because we're talking $52,000, 52,000 years ahead, doesn't necessarily mean 52,000 years ahead in terms of advancement across the board, does it?
No.
See,
no,
I want to get.
fact,
everyone thinks.
We're talking about two different timelines here.
Right.
Anyway.
That's thank you, because people think linear and they think unidimensional, and this is a multidimensional issue, And just because something is 52,000 years in our time ahead of us doesn't mean they are advanced 52,000 years in every aspect.
Well, it would vector forward as linearly 52,000 years if, within the next couple of years, we transition from what we call timeline number 1 over to timeline number 2. God forbid.
Is that the Bush timeline, the Bush-Cheney-Halliburton cabal timeline?
Don't blame us. It's not like we actually voted for him.
No. Listen, he lost. Anyway, when you have that kind of power, it doesn't matter. Back in just a minute with Dr. Dan Burish. And Marcy, any quick comment as we slide into the break here?
No, but we do have to talk about the timeline issues. This is very important, and it has a tremendous effect on the issue of the extraterrestrial presence.
Very good. All right. And one quick question, Dan, real quick.
Sure.
How many different groups of visitors are visiting the planet at any given time?
I'm aware of 3 physical and 1 interdimensional.
Okay, very good. There's so many different kinds of reports of different shaped hardware flying around up there, one wonders. So stand by, we'll be right back.
Hello, Brenda, Fred, Ben, friends and family members. The essence of the plan is summarized from a speech by a British politician in which he says for a parliament of 300 people to control 65 million in the UK often against their will, and to make them do things against their natural patterning, mind control is very necessary. When we look at things as they really are, obviously not as we see them, then they are under mind control and doing things against their own natural pattern. That would make them POWs, and everyone knows you can't put a mind control POW in jail. What do we do with them? We get their health back, of course. How? $40,000 in back taxes or more should help. Brenda and friends, show me that tax law. There is no law. Don't believe it? Ask Senator Ernest Chambers to show you that tax law. If he can't, it's your money, you need it now and it's already in your pocket. Brenda and friends vacation to Bora. Bora would be nice. I guess that's everyone listening to our CTI show and his reply. Is it worth asking him that question? That goes for all lawyers in all 5 states. Of course that with that kind of money each person could sponsor just a few CTI shows. 4 per person would be nice. Now the Bora Island tourism information from Tahiti Tourism, worldwideweb.tahititourism.com web link, Simulardo Bora Island tourism information from Tahiti Tourism, official Bora tourism website, detailed destination information including Bora map, Bora activities and sites, Bora transportation, Bora. How did it happen to Brenda and our friends? Not what happened to them to go against their natural pattern of honesty, but what happened to all of us that we would let, as pertain and other things that kill ourself and our children. Normally that would and should go against all our natural patterns. The same boat with Brenda and friends are in. Why? Because mind control does works, as you are all about to see and hear. About the pictures of the peculiar silicate-associated phenomena, PSAF, Cherubim Angel last parked over house. What is it? What does it do? Good question, glad you ask. Project Lotus touches many aspects of the human condition reflected in science, philosophy, theology, and ethics. We tread remarkably close to the tree of life, guarded by the holy cherubim. Therefore, be advised that on March 16, 2005, when Phase 2 becomes operational and I assume the responsibility of project leadership, we will continue our commitment to respect the limitations, established by Dr. Burish in cooperation with the Holy Cherubim, that have been placed upon this project by Almighty God. I will tolerate no trespass upon the Tree of Life, while this project is under my guidance. Respectfully, Marcia A. McDowell, M.A. Assistant Director, Project Lotus. And on dash ... This is what the cherubim in the Garden of Eden, who guard its entrance, signified. The Garden of Eden signifies all knowledge, wisdom, understanding and interconnectedness that exists at all levels, degrees and spheres of the 9 circles of creation, but most importantly it signifies the knowledge, understanding and application of the true absolute nature of the Most High and everything that relates to the Most High and the Lord God Jesus Christ, one indivisible creator of everything. As of equals is greater than March 31st for page 20 volume 5 anonymous see March 31st 2004 1:17 a.m. EST. Dr. Burish and his Enigma, volume 5, smiley face. Dr. Burish has planted seeds from the tree in the lotus process. And yes, others have taken liberties with this knowledge that Dr. Dan refused to do. They have begun to genome the Ganesh particle DNA. Reversine apparently is a synthetic molecule which can reverse a developed cell to the stem cell level. Worldwide invitation to come one and come all. Have a conversation, take pictures with the team captain, the oracle, cherubim and possible peculiar silicate associated phenomena, PSAF. Where? Yard of 4306 Lake Street, Omaha, Nebraska and 600 South 27th Street, Omaha, Nebraska. Bring cameras and your faith. Spiritual growth cannot be hampered. lekinsari@aol.com. Chicken legs and beans or turkey tails and rice. Attorneys from all 5 states, you know or did you know you have all been sued? I want my money, all $53 billion with the interest. So this year there will be no happy Thanksgiving or Christmas, also there will be no jingle bells and no Christmas tree. You are going to have to make do and dance around a common dandelion. For Thanksgiving you will be having a Cornish hen, the leftovers you will be having for Christmas dinner. You will be eating turkey tails and rice or pigeon legs and beans through the week. Water chaser. Since I am not mad at the spouse, I would suggest they put in for one of the O.H.A high-rises. Jackson Towers is having a 1-month move-in free special. So you want to put in an application right away, they will be filling up soon. Don't forget the food stamps application. So there will be no college for junior, no prom for Miss C's wife/husband gone who knows. Love in one of the towers possible. I want my money and I want it now, counted twice, including the interest owed. Of course you could throw yourselves at the mercy of Sickum and Howe, who has all your recorded and deeds you thought you were hiding. You have yet nothing, they have it all. So looks like 40 to 60 years federal time. Your other problem? Just have to have someone to keep sending you the soaps on a rope. The Vader jelly would be a helpful item. Now we know all the attorneys are not men, right? We know what happens. She wakes up from what she thinks is a bad nightmare. She tells her husband what happened, and what does he say? I told you I didn't like that. Having morning coffee with her best girlfriend, she tells her abduction story, and she said, wow, you had a terrible and really bad nightmare. Why don't you call Muthan and tell them your story? Just watch out for the blow-up dolls with the smile and steam in the wrong places. Never can tell who is recording there. The pigeon legs will have to be declawed, of course. Declawing can become a family shared thing. The pigeon and turkey tails can be mixed for special days. Beans or slash and rice, that would be a company casserole. That's what happened when some of you can't count or do 5th grade math. It's been nice, but now it's time to kiss it all goodbye. Have new friends slash playmates now. Some of them you may know. I am sure explanation will be in order, but now is the time to think of them, not later. Smile, your chickens have come home. Of course other attorneys will help. If you have a credit cards for consultations, stocks, bonds, gold, real estate holding act, you are going to have to sell everything for the young wife future comfort. Who knows, maybe one of your lawyer friends will step in and help. Let's hope she slash he puts a clause in there about the soap on a rope and Vader jelly being promptly delivers on a timely basis. She will want that clause in there. It would be wise. Note there are terrible reasons why they are called the Law Office of Siccum and how, when they are through with you, you are going to think you are crazy. By the way, those free get out of jail cards you have been saving are now null and void. Do you really have all your books in order? If not, it's going to take a miracle to get all of you out. Any hope left? Not. When you become the devil's junior partner, say your goodbyes now. They will be coming to get you. You know how they do it. They wait until late at night and send about 40 officers or catch you at work. Question: is your secretary with family going to go to the federal pen with you or cooperate with law enforcement? Can you now rest easy? To cheat and take advantage of poor hurt sick people is crazy. I am sure you are now thinking back about becoming the devil junior partner. For money was not a crazy idea at the time, was it? But now becoming the devil junior partners, I am sure now seems like a really crazy point idea. Hang in there, we are not finished with you yet. More? Of course there is more. Like and share at AOL.com.
The Team Captain Talk Show with the Team Captain and the Oracle. They're still on duty. That legendary duel on CTI 22.
The ultimate ignorance is rejecting something you know nothing about. Dedicated to the restoration of full consciousness.